With that housekeeping out of the way, I'm April Dawn Knutson. I have the privilege of serving as the CEO for the Community Resource Center. And it's such a pleasure to connect with so many of you this week at the Elpamar statewide event. So I have enjoyed connecting with funders throughout this week, and then I'm so filled with joy to see so many of your faces on this call today. Over the last 90 days, I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to connect personally with many of your organizations and to share about the challenges, opportunities, and next steps for the vision of CRC. These casual and intentional conversations have been elevated and informed by your feedback that continues to shape the approach and outcomes of CRC. So thank you for being with us today. We're going to cover three main areas today. We're going to talk about our strategic planning process and timeline. We're going to talk about 24-25 Rural Philanthropy Days and Rural Action Network planning and timelines. And we're going to talk about funder involvement and possibilities to partner more deeply for the season ahead. As I mentioned, we're recording this meeting and it will be available on our website, and we'll be distributing it to everyone who is registered for today's session. We're also sending a survey out to attendees after today's session as one way of collecting feedback and working to ensure that our partners have the communication and clarity that you need to join us in the work ahead. We have a lot of CRC faces on the call today. We're joined by many of our staff members, as well as several board members. And I'd like to make a special call out to our co-presidents, Leslie Baldwin and Pat Greer, for being on the call today. We're also joined by Erin Meltenberger and Lee Wheeler, who are board members with CRC. Thank you for your participation, leadership, and support. Today, we're looking to accomplish a few things. We want to know that we've heard concerns and we're working to address those. We want to provide a clear picture of opportunities to be involved in the year ahead, and we want to share CRC's authentic and deliberative approach to strategic planning. RPD is a machine. We can all acknowledge that. And this machine requires a lot of staff and infrastructure and capacity to make 2 rural conferences possible every year. We recognize the deep and cumulative impact of these conferences across all of our 8 regions, in communities, and throughout our sector. And we are internally struggling with a staffing model to sustain the work of Rural Philanthropy Days. And this is one reason for our pause. We cannot thoughtfully redesign our systems to be more sustainable while running the RPD machine. So our response to this realization is a pause and a shift. CRC recognizes that we're not connecting with regions in a responsive and responsible way, that we want to be more present than a 3-day conference every 4 years. We recognize that trust is built through hundreds of big and small local interactions. And CRC wants to be present and involved in local communities in a more consistent way. The value of Rural Philanthropy Days is too important to not ensure the long-term stability of this program. This pause and shift does not mean that we should all expect a brand new shiny show pony when we come out the other side of a planning session. Many aspects of RPD are thriving. We want to build on what's working and revise areas that have become perfunctory. These changes will be informed by local community voice, experienced RPD leaders, new to RPD supporters, partners, funders, and rural nonprofits of all sizes. We've heard from many of you that there's a lack of clarity about the Rural Action Network and what and how this program operates. So later, I'll be sharing in more detail about our Rural Action Network or RAN programming and the programs that exist under our RAN umbrella. For now, at a high level, Rural Philanthropy Days is one of the programs under our Rural Action Network umbrella. And historic staffing models for this program are not working. One of those reasons is because the staffing model has traditionally been front range Denver centric. And so we empower and train a lot of front range folks to travel the state all year long to make rural programming happen. We're looking to evolve this work into more of a place-based staffing model, to have people in community and working regularly and physically, tangibly in place with community partners. We believe that this shift in a staffing model will help us be more responsive in meaningful and specific and community-centered ways, helping us serve our mission more readily. We all recognize that CRC has gone through a number of changes over the past few years. And to ensure long-term viability and sustainability, a strategic assessment of the organization is being deliberately undertaken. With the turmoil of the last year and dominoes and various staffing leaving, CRC has not been able to allocate the capacity and resources to undertake the strategic planning process. And as a capacity building organization, we recognize that a lack of strategy forces an organization to be reactive rather than responsive. CRC does not have the staff to carry business as usual while building strategy. And until we understand what communities need, we cannot build innovative, comprehensive programming and strategies. So let's jump into some details about this vision, timeline, and the opportunities ahead. After moving through these details, we'll make space for questions so that you can have your questions answered in real time. Additionally, we're following up with a survey so that if you have things that linger after this session, we would love to see those questions as well. This is the start of ongoing conversations. So let's jump to the deck. On the next slide, we're going to see a picture of our strategic planning overview. On the left, you see a timeline going from now all the way through January 2026. In the middle, this triangle represents the framework that we're using for our strategic planning process, and the colors are tied to the timeline on the left. Additionally, on the right, you'll see arrows that are moving up and out of the frame. This is to reflect that we are moving into a strategic planning process in a parallel path with current programming. We are not pausing everything and moving internally to hide in a cave for 12 months to come out with some beautiful product that we then inflict on the communities we serve. We're looking to have a transparent and intentional process where we're bringing community in, where we're taking a look at our systems and really wanting to understand how can we better serve communities. And we're choosing to do this in parallel with many of our programs that are continuing to support nonprofits. So our process, as in any strategic planning process, is starting with phase one, the framework, really setting our mission, vision, and values, really cementing this work so that we can use it as a lens and a guidepost to direct all future planning through our process. Our second phase is discovery and data collection. We recognize that we can only make decisions that are as good as the data we hold. And so we're going to be moving through auditing of structures and functions across all aspects of our organization, listening through community convenings, stakeholder engagement, and advancing these learnings through ad hoc committees. Our next phase is strategy development. While this bridges phase 2 and phase 3, this intention is meant to set strategic objectives and goals, finalize and align timelines with financial and human capital, and formalize and launching committees for both advisory and accountability of the process. Then we'll be moving into approval and adoption, working with the board to ensure that there is a cohesive plan across all systems that is informed by board feedback, informed by staff feedback, informed by community feedback, funder feedback, taking all of these pieces and ensuring that they are reflected in the product that we're looking to move forward. 2026, we'll be continuing to work with our committees for implementation, measurement, and ongoing monitoring. This is really the scaffolding that we're going to be building our strategic planning from. In addition to collecting new data, we're revisiting historic data. As an example, in 2021, CRC surveyed RAN and RPD funders, and you told us a lot about the success and opportunities you see for CRC and the Rural Philanthropy Day programming. Based on your feedback, we've evolved many aspects of RPD since 2021. Examples of this include RPD programming that has expanded in its topics and that are geared toward local leaders to reach beyond just entry-level content, really digging deeper into leadership skills, digging deeper into root cause issues. Also, in response to the 21 data, CRC redesigned funder roundtables to create a more equitable and connection-centered process. Another emphasis that we've heard is how CRC, Philanthropy Colorado, and the Colorado Nonprofit Association both converge and diverge in their programming. In response, we three organizations are actively exploring collaboration opportunities through monthly informal cohort connections that started in July. We're meeting with a facilitator to establish collaborative goals in November, and we're actively partnering on the State of the Sector event for 2025. Save the date. It's January 30th. This process of listening and responding actionably is the cornerstone of CRC's work. We'll continue to evaluate the importance of we're going to continue to evaluate and incorporate your comments and recommendations as we move into a season of data gathering and are grateful for the time and intentional feedback that has already been provided. PD is too important and impactful to lose intentionality because the current staffing model is not viable. So let's talk about the Rural Action Network and the goals of this program. RPD is one piece of our RAN programming. Are some of the other things that our RAN program does. We do in-place and community-informed trainings. We lead, support, and facilitate regional leadership committees across all of our RPD regions. We have community convenings where we're making sure that nonprofit folks are getting together with local leaders and are having opportunities to connect organically and naturally to advance collaboration in their work. And then we provide responsive, localized programming. Our RAN is one of the most well-positioned programs to respond to emergent needs across our sector, particularly in the communities that we serve through RPD. As we revamp this program through the pause of 2025, We'll have visible and vibrant engagement across all 8 RPD regions. Whereas traditionally, while running the RPD machine, we are laser focused in 2 areas. This year, we're going to be spending our time across all 8 regions. Our programming objectives will start in March and run through September. Through town halls, community convenings, we'll incorporate lessons learned and insights as an overlay for CRC's strategic plan. Our goals include a reinvigorated RPD through community listening and committee action, shifting to a more sustainable place-based staffing structure that's designed to embed staff in the communities we serve, gain insights into challenges, changes, and opportunities in each region so that we can more readily and planfully respond. Lastly, we want to strengthen existing relationships and build a bigger table in each of these regions. CRC recognizes that the demographics, faces, and needs of Colorado's rural communities are changing. And we want to ensure that our networks and programming are informed by a wide range of diverse voices and experiences that make up the uniqueness of each of these regions. As we look at 2025, each region has a different timeline and program content based upon where they're at in their RPD cycle. Town hall style convenings across all 8 regions will include cross-sector listening and information convenings to connect and learn from local leaders. These will be opportunities to connect and learn about the changing landscape, challenges, and opportunities facing each unique space. Funders are invited to participate, and we'll share a little bit more about that as we move through this content. Community-informed trainings will be in all 8 regions, in person, in place. These trainings will be informed by what we learn from town halls, community leaders, and our RPD folks. Oftentimes, these trainings include Get Grants, 101, 201, and beyond, board development trainings, fund development, etc. So we have a 40-year library of resources that we're going to be brushing off and moving through to see how we can revive a lot of the trainings that have fallen away over the last 5 years so that we can be more ready to serve and responsive to the needs that we hear in each community. So as you look at this map, this is a map of all of the RPD regions. Each region is labeled with the name of that region, as well as a list of when and how we'll be engaging in each of these spaces. All regions will have community-informed trainings and a town hall convening. CRC values equity, and a part of valuing equity is recognizing that equity doesn't mean that everybody gets the same. And so we're really designing 2025's approach to ensure that each region is designed according to where the community is at in their Rural Philanthropy Days cycle, and scheduling will be informed by the seasonal demands of the region. All funders and partners are welcome to join us for town halls in all 8 regions. And we recognize that every organization, including foundations, grapple with capacity constraints. We want to ensure that all parties, communities, nonprofits, and funders remain whole as CRC moves into this authentic and intentional planning season. That is expanding virtual funder roundtables from our typical 2 that we do each year. In 2025, we'll be doing 4. Traditionally, regions that would have a virtual funder roundtable program would be those who are halfway through their 4-year RPD cycle. In 2025, this is Southeast and Southwest. We will be doing virtual funder roundtables according to plan with no change in these regions. Additionally, we'll be adding virtual funder roundtable programming in the Northeast and the heart of Colorado for 2025. It's important for us to all plan for an amazing in-person 2026 RPD, which will be in the Northeast and the heart of Colorado region. So in addition to town halls and local trainings, this is why we're prioritizing virtual funder roundtables in these regions to ensure that funders and nonprofits have the opportunity to foster connections and build momentum ahead of RPD. We'll do this while preserving folks' enthusiasm to travel to these regions. So we know that we're all going to be spending a lot of time in heart of Colorado and Northeast in 2026. And we want to preserve folks' enthusiasm for visiting these spaces, which is why we're expanding funder roundtables in these regions. In accordance with historic timelines for RPD's planning process, we'll be launching steering committees in October for the Northeast and in January for Heart of Colorado. These steering committees, as all of you know on the call, are one of the catalyst ways that we bring RPD to our region. Recognizing that we'll be spending significant time in the Northeast and heart of Colorado region in 26, and that we've spent meaningful time this year in San Luis Valley and Western Slope through RPD, we want to make sure that funders have access to communities that they haven't connected with in some time. With this in mind, we're prioritizing in-person funder connections in the San Juan and Northwest regions. Understanding that funders need to prioritize their capacity, we're planning to keep our RPD travel schedule of June and September with the expectation of June in the Northwest and September in San Juan. CRC will work collaboratively with community members and funders to plan a day of connection for each of these regions. So now let's zoom into these regions on the map and detail how we're planfully anticipating the work ahead. In the Northeast, one of our regions that is most directly impacted by the RPD pause, we have already started meeting with community members in October to explore how we can bring trainings to this region and what will be most relevant for folks in the year ahead. Board development is a training that has been identified in that space, and we're actively working to schedule and plan to get that on the calendar. We'll be doing in March, we'll be doing a virtual funder roundtable in the Northeast. In June, CRC will be in person facilitating a town hall convening. And then October will be in place kicking off the 2026 RPD Steering Committee. For Rockies, also a region directly impacted by the pause, we'll be doing a virtual funder roundtable in March. We'll have a town hall convening in person in July, where we'll be informed about what trainings we should bring to this area to support the goals and efforts of that community. In January 2026, we'll be kicking off the RPD steering committees for Heart of Colorado. Looking to the Southeast, we're planning virtual funder roundtables for March, April. We are using community-informed trainings to be in person in these spaces, working with this community. And then in August, we'll have an in-person town hall. For the Southwest, we'll be doing virtual funder roundtables in March and April. We'll have an August in-person town hall that will help inform the trainings that we bring to this region. In the San Luis Valley, we'll be back in the Valley in November 2024, just 2 weeks from now, roughly. We are going to be doing RPD wrap-up in November. We will have a May in-person town hall. And in May, we will also be launching the regional leadership committees that will foster the work that happens in this region over the next 4 years. This region has also asked for community-informed trainings and or community convenings. This is an ask that came out of RPD, and we're looking forward to working with the former steering committee as well as the new regional leadership committee to ensure that we are supporting them in having the regular and ongoing convenings that they're looking to achieve. Western Slope will have a May 2025 in-person town hall, and we will be launching the regional leadership committees in May as well while we're in that community. Like the San Luis Valley, the regional leadership committees will identify community trainings and needs and inform the 4-year RPD cycle of RAN programming and how CRC can support ongoing connections, learning, and development over the next 4 years. In the Northwest, we'll have an in-person town hall in June, choosing traditional RPD timing of June to encourage in-person funder participation in this region. We'll also have community-informed trainings. San Juan will have an in-person town hall in September. Again, looking at our traditional RPD timing to encourage in-person funder participation for these town hall events. Always informed community trainings. So that's a detailed look at each region with a rough timeline for your calendars about when and how we'll be engaging in those spaces. Funders, we have heard that keeping rural communities and funders connected is one of the most far-reaching impacts of RPD. As we pause and shift, we recognize the importance of keeping these connections meaningful and vibrant. Direct connection opportunities in 2025 include participating in all 4 virtual funder roundtables, in-person connections in the Northwest and San Juan regions, and an open invitation for in-person regional town hall listening events. Your investment makes this work possible, and your presence, participation, and partnership throughout the process will help redefine and reinvigorate RAN and RPD programming. To re-emphasize, CRC strategic planning process will run in parallel with ongoing programs and service delivery. Strategic initiatives that are already underway include collaborative exploration with the Colorado Nonprofit Association and Philanthropy Colorado, internal CRC website audit and updates. CRC has already achieved an HR assessment and has made progress around an insurance benefit and compensation audit, performance review practices and revisions, and professional development opportunities to continue to attract and retain the talent that we need to move our work forward. Working with a financial consultant, we are assessing all of our financial systems. This consultant will be making recommendations and supporting implementation of our financial systems redesign. Additionally, we are actively working on our board governance structures, systems, and development, launching our mission, vision, and value framework starting on November 1st. Overall, the strategic planning project is being managed by Heather Rule Grady, who is on our call today. She's partnering with us to oversee the ongoing details of ensuring that this work moves forward, as well as the coordination of building and structuring committees and bringing accountability to this work as well. When we look at our framework, we're really starting at the bedrock of the organization. So as we move into strategic planning, starting November 1st, with our mission, vision, values, this is board-led work. I say November 1st because that's when the homework goes out to the board. We have a board retreat on November 15th, and that is where the lift starts. Our next phase is discovery and development. As I've already mentioned, we're going to be auditing, discovering, and planning across all systems and arms of business. Some elements are already underway, as I've stated, and many of these processes will be undertaken by committees with specific guidelines and goals. Diversity, equity, and inclusion lenses are being applied across every system of our organization as we look at structure, function, and programming, because we believe that organizations and communities are stronger and more resilient when we come together and embrace our differences. We make more vibrant and impactful organizations and programs when we operate in this way. Budget and resilient systems, as well as diversification of income, are all topics of discussion across all programs and systems of CRC in the year ahead. Next phase is approval and oversight, really coming alongside and working with the board to ensure that the vision, mission, and values of our organization, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion, are applied across each phase of this work. RPD launch sponsorships and partnership asks are also going to be happening during this August to October timeframe because, as I mentioned, we're going to be moving into RPD planning for 2026 starting in October. And so you'll start to see a lot of the RPD momentum picking up during this final oversight phase of our strategic planning process. During this approval and oversight time, we're going to be reviewing alignment with budget and other resources. And obviously, that conversation will impact the execution of our staffing model, our program offerings, and our implementation timeline. We are planning to move this work forward, but our support and partnership from outside as well as inside will help inform how quickly and readily these shifts take root. Finally, the adoption phase. It seems so far from now, but it'll be here so fast. So we're looking to refine in cooperation with the board of directors to make sure that the final product we're putting forward has measurable outcomes that we're able to revisit as we move through 2026 and through implementation. We'll also be finalizing communications, our implementation planning, and we'll be planning to share our outcomes and directions with partners in the public at probably December 2025 as we look at the year ahead. So I've mentioned that we're doing all of the strategic planning in parallel with CRC programming. Grant Services is one of our most robust programs. This program will be evaluated during the discovery and development phase of our strategic planning process, but there will be no programmatic changes to this program in 2025. That means we will continue offering grant trainings, funder connections, grant coaching, deep grant consulting, documenting barriers and making recommendations to funders in conjunction with Philanthropy Colorado, and providing access to grant resources and information, including the always updated Colorado Grant Guide. Another program that we will continue to run and evaluate is our Civic Engagement and Advocacy Program. This program evaluation will happen during the discovery and development phase of our strategic plan, and there will be no programmatic changes in 2025. This means that we will continue to run the participation project, our root cause network, our advocacy and community engagement resources, as well as tax credit outreach in partnership with Get Grants or Get Ahead Colorado. Education and training has historically been a more robust program at CRC. And as we talk with partners and community members, it is one of the sorely missed aspects of CRC's programming. Through the work of our discovery and development phase, we're going to be moving through our 40-year resource library and assessing what trainings and professional development opportunities are going to be best bubbled up, dusted off, and pushed back out into the public. So we're very excited about going through our historic programming and bringing back more trainings and more leadership development. Historic areas of training that we've heard folks are missing has been our Nonprofit 101, fund or resource development trainings, social enterprise and impact, management and leadership pipeline trainings, planning, strategic planning, program planning, advocacy and civic engagement, as well as fostering more peer leader cohort style programming. We've talked at length about RAN and RPD today, and I want to emphasize all of the ways that this program will continue to run in a very robust way in the year ahead. Partners can prioritize connecting with as many regions as possible in 2025, and they can join town halls, connecting in person and virtually. We're thinking innovatively because CRC is always creative and innovative. We recognize the impact of CRC as being amplified when we listen, partner, and collaborate. We recognize this as an ambitious effort, and we are boldly moving forward, but we cannot do this alone. We would like to be a thought partner on how your investment in CRC for 2025 might best align with your organizational goals and desired outcomes. Examples of ways that we can partner and things that we're exploring for 2025: supporting CRC with bringing on temporary staff to support the internal logistics, the external professional expertise to support and enhance strategic planning efforts. Flexible funding to invest in the implementation of these efforts and to ensure the long-term success of the organization's long-term viability of these programs. What one-time, point-in-time opportunity might you be able to fund or invest in to make a big impact in the success of this internal planning effort? We are seeking 8 region town hall sponsors for bridge building, outreach events, and folks who are interested in building a bigger table in these communities. We are looking for community-informed training partners and sponsors, as well as sponsorship support for scholarships across CRC's programs in 2025. These are a few of the opportunities that come to mind when we are approaching funders. We'll be coming back to all of our RAN funders over the next 2 weeks. One, to hear about the content of this presentation, what questions might still linger, what concerns do you have, what enthusiasm are you excited to share, and maybe you're eager to run in one direction or another. We can't wait for these conversations and are excited to continue to engage you. These are some initial thinking points about ways that we can partner differently or in a more unique way for 2025 as we look at the goals ahead. We welcome your participation in person, where you and your staff are able. However, deeper in-person connection elements will be a part of the Northwest in June and the San Juan region in September. So next steps. October to November, we'll be following up with funders and community members individually to collaborate and further refine scheduling for 2025. State of the sector, as I've already mentioned, you asked for us to collaborate, and we are. This is one of the first steps, and it's our State of the Sector save the date for January 30th. We'll have in-person watch parties across the state, and we'll be hosting an anchor site at the Colorado Health Capital in Denver, CRC's office. We're seeking sponsors who want to demonstrate their commitment to Colorado's statewide nonprofit sector. Here are some tangible ways that you can get involved. Thank you so much for taking an interest in the work and direction of CRC, and I'd like to make space for questions, as well as have a drink. Feel free to take yourself off mute or drop a question in the chat.
So I am part of the Northeast region from Prairie Family Center, and I actually texted my boss to see, have you reached out to us at all about joining and getting some feedback from us where we're struggling?
We are looking forward to connecting with your community. If I can call out Katie Sawyer. Katie, I know that you've been deeply connected with the regions.
I'm not entirely sure, Danielle. Do you mean your organization specifically, or are you talking
Yes,
about
ma'am.
our engagement in the Northeast? Yeah. So
Yeah,
our
ours specifically.
yeah. I joined the Rural Action Network team about a year ago. So the
Okay.
folks with whom I have had conversations and have been engaging are the folks that are a member of the Regional Leadership Committee. So I don't know
Okay.
if anybody from your organization has been a
I
part of that.
I don't think so, no. Just because like
Yeah,
listening to everything, I'm like, I really feel like maybe we should be providing some feedback as well. Because we are
absolutely.
the only family center out there. So well, in
Absolutely.
Kit
I look
Carson anyway.
Yeah, I look forward to connecting with you and learning more. And that is part of our hope over this next year. We, as April Dawn shared, our hope is to build a bigger table. And so we have had some transition in the Rural Action Network team. I am newer in this role and I'm building relationships and meeting people all across the state. So absolutely looking forward. So glad you're here. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for wanting to be a part of this. And I look forward to connecting.
Perfect, thanks. Sorry, my computer monitor is off to the side, and for whatever reason, my laptop has chosen hate today. So I keep looking off to the side because my laptop screen is being silly.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for looking forward to hearing from your community and recognizing how CRC can support ongoing efforts out there.
Awesome.
I saw a question in the chat that said, do you feel pretty confident that RPD will happen in 2026? There's no doubt in my mind that RPD will happen in 2026. This is a pause and it is not a shift away from RPD or a shift outside of Rural Philanthropy Day programming. We are confident that we will be launching steering committees in October and January, and will resume our forecasted RPD cycle, starting with Heart of the Rockies and Northeast. Other thoughts? Thank you all for your time today. I want to recognize that I am a processor who needs to percolate in order to think about information, and then questions bubble up and then ideas start to flow. And if there are those of you out there who process like I do, I understand taking a little time to digest this very wordy information. We're looking forward to continuing to circle back with you over the next few weeks. Please look in your inbox for a survey where we'll also be asking for your questions, comments, concerns, and we look forward to following up with you because we can't do this work alone. And we're so excited about the future ahead. We want everybody to come along. So thank you for your time today, and we're looking forward to the future. We'll be in touch.
There are a couple other questions. It looks like April Dawn. Morgan's raising their hand right now.
Morgan, yes, Story, bless you for watching back a house.
Thank you, Story. Hi, April Dawn. It's good to see you.
Hi.
I met you at RPD this year.
Yeah.
But I work for the Civic Canopy, which is a capacity building organization that works statewide. So I'm just curious about, I'm excited about the town halls that are going to be happening everywhere and hope that there's opportunities for partners to be a part of that conversation and listening as well. But I'm just curious how I love to see that you're collaborating with the other big philanthropy organizations, and I'm wondering what the potential for collaboration with the other capacity builders in the state could look like. So that we're all sort of moving in the direction of making sure that the social change ecosystems are getting what they need. And hopefully, using our resources collectively.
Yes, love it. Thank you, Morgan. It is one of our priorities. Other capacity building organizations are definitely one of our priority stakeholder groups that we've identified as we move into our planning process. We recognize that there are not enough resources in all of the world for us to just continue duplicating programming and services. We want to make sure that Colorado has everything they need and that folks are left whole. And we believe that the best way to do that is through collaboration and partnership. So we are looking forward to having you join us as we do bigger table building. And we want to have y'all involved in our listening as well as in our strategy development as we move forward. So yes, and
And then it looked like Janice also had a question in the chat. It says, in light of this pause, are there any thoughtful ways CRC recommends Denver funders can collectively connect with the regions during this pause?
That's a great question, and really one that we look forward to thinking with you and how we can create actionable opportunities for connection. As I've emphasized throughout our content today, prioritizing those funder role nonprofit / community connections is one of our top priorities as we move through this work. And so we look forward to following up. I think it would be great to convene Front Range Denver funders and hear from you about your priorities in rural areas, some of the challenges you experience in trying to serve and invest in these spaces, and how CRC can support you in expanding your statewide reach in a more efficient way. So yes, and please include that question in your follow-up survey so that we're able to connect with you directly to keep that conversation going and really launch it off sooner rather than later so that you can planfully look forward to joining us. Oh, Roxanne, thanks for sharing that resource. In the chat, Roxanne put the Grant Professionals Association Annual National Summit will be in Denver next week, and it's a great opportunity to learn more about grants and obtain help for your work. So if there are folks on the call who are looking for support in that way, we'd encourage you to join these folks for their summit or reach out to the Grant Professionals Association. We know that grant writing in particular is a need that lots of rural nonprofits express, and this could be a good connection for y'all.